In this era of deep complexity,
If the French resistance had this bad of ADHD, I think we would still be under a Vichy French, global hegemon,
beyond the edges of black or white,
Is there something morally wrong with C-3PO?
No, but I do think there's something up with R2-D2.
it's time to be notionally accurate.
The halftime show. It's Bad Bunny. I don't speak Spanish. I don't like mumble rap. I don't like Spanish mumble rap.
Here's your host, Captain Kirk, and some guy named Jason.
Tim Walz and Donald Trump. What did these minds come together and decide?
Two titans of our political landscape. Welcome to episode 27 of Notionally Accurate. My name is Captain Kirk. I'm with some guy named Jason. So,
hello.
Jason, we are on a little bit of a different track here as far as when we're recording. This is post Valentine's Day and post Friday the 13th. So I think we avoided two very detrimental days in our recording schedule. And now I think we have a perfect opportunity on this wonderful Sunday evening.
Yes. And as someone named Jason, although I do relish a good 13th of a Friday, it's always good to avoid. Do you know why Friday the 13th came around?
I do not. Tell me.
So, believe it or not, it has to do with the Pope, like most things. The Pope and the King of France, I think it was King Philip. Anyway, they decided that the Knights Templar were too powerful. They had too much land because they had most of the land in Europe, some of the land in the Mediterranean, and most land in the Middle East. They were the first group to come up with international banking. They had their money had money. Whatever. They decided that this group had too much money, so they burned them all at the stake on Friday the 13th. So it's because of the Templars.
Always comes back to the Pope and the Templars.
So did Waltz back down? Is that what happened in Minnesota? Did he get? Because I'm thinking this: was he forced to back down, or was a deal struck?
I'd say it's a mix of both. He was forced to back down because this was just not going his way, and he struck a deal. Let's ask the non-sponsor of this show, Gemini, what deal the two governments made.
Tim Walz and Donald Trump. What did these minds come together and decide?
Two titans of our political landscape. So there isn't a written codification of this guideline that we're following now, but Tom Homan, who is the border czar, he stated that the surge, which is the increase in ICE agents and Border Patrol in Minnesota, took about 3,000 agents, and they're going to be pulling them back because according to Homan, the Minnesota government has, and this is a quote, has provided unprecedented coordination with local officials and ICE. So that really helps. So I'd imagine there's nothing that's outlined specifically, but I would imagine that this is local law enforcement honoring ICE detainers. So when they arrest somebody who happens to be an illegal immigrant and they're released, they warn ICE about it so that ICE can then come to detain and submit the illegal immigrant to the process.
So when they say unprecedented, who's saying unprecedented? Because I've noticed. Okay. Then all right. Well, that's something.
Yeah.
All right.
If it was some schlub, I'd be like, I'm a little bit more skeptical.
Yeah.
And it looks like so Hennepin County is like the main county for Minneapolis, and of course these little turds, they can't just take the win. You have to say, whoa. There is no deal, okay? There's no deal. There's no agreement, okay? We're not backing down. We're still resisting. But there's going to be, I think, a change in how local law enforcement handle ICE and their requests moving forward. Had there been that kind of coordination in the beginning, certain individuals would be still alive and others would still be, with their hands, as it were. So I'd say this is good. It's important that we get buy-in from local law enforcement. And if we can get it in a state like Minnesota, I think it's then possible to expand the coordination out to other jurisdictions. Do
you think with this unprecedented level of cooperation, how that's going to affect all the protests? Are they going to have the same... I mean, in theory, they would still have the same local support, but they wouldn't have the same... I don't know. Is law enforcement going to be a little more stringent with them? I don't know. How, if there is a deal that has been made. Yeah.
I think I know where you're getting at. This non-deal coordination will take the air out of the protesting balloon, because if you don't have the ICE agents there, if you don't have them conducting the overt public presentation, then there's nothing to protest. So the Preddies and Goods of the world are going to have to find, some Republicans' Twitter page to rant at or something, rather than, kicking taillights out and spitting at Border Patrol agents.
So then Minnesota is taking a step back from a California or an Illinois standpoint then?
Right, yeah. I think the Pritzkers of the world and the Newsoms of the world, because they're eyeing 2028, and we know that Walz, because of the fraud scandal and the way his administration handled that, has been so disastrous that he's not even running for a third term as governor, unprecedented in its temerity. We know that Pritzker is probably going to stand his ground, as is Newsom.
That's so interesting. Well, then why would Walz fold?
Because he has no political capital. Everything's been stripped from him. And what are you going to do? You're going to just continuously battle ICE until you're out of office? I mean, he needs to settle things down, or else this will be his legacy, is having two of his residents killed and all this chaos happen.
What do you think? I mean, what would be his legacy? What's going to be his future? He's got nowhere else to go. He was once the toad of the Mr. Joe football coach, and and now he's
America's
Donnie Dinwiddie over here. Yeah. So what do you think his future is? He's done politically. He's got to be. He's
going to be on. He's going to be like some analyst for MS Now or something like that.
Ugh.
Or He's going to be at like Brookings Institution or something like that as a, resident fellow or something.
Dude, someone's going to say, I just tweeted on MSNBC, and like, how old are you? You know what I mean?
Okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer. No, he's just politics is such an interesting thing if you look at it. The kind of person that would put themselves in a situation like that, where he was obviously someone's puppet to be the vice president, but even before that, to be the governor. What did he do to become the governor of Minnesota? God only knows. And then he almost became vice president. And then now it's just so interesting to see how this whole thing is just decayed in front of him. And so the average Minnesota governor runs 3 terms, is what you're telling me.
No, actually, if Walz had ran, I think he would be the first to even attempt it. Had he won, obviously he'd be the first to be a 3-term governor of Minnesota.
So, but they do allow that.
Yeah, there's no term limits for the governorship in Minnesota.
Interesting.
It's just tradition that limits them to 2 terms.
Do you think? I mean, what's because I like we were saying before the show that we're not going to know anything about this whole Somalian billions of dollars thing for months and months now. But what do you think? What do you think he is going to have to pay somehow, or he is? Is it just going to be like hurting his legacy?
Will he ever be held to account for allowing the fraud to take place? I doubt it. Now, that doesn't mean it's impossible for something to happen, but again, there's just such inertia in getting any of these people to be held to account for anything. I'd be terribly surprised, elated, but surprised.
Well, it's interesting. It would be interesting to see too how with Antifa and things like that, how they will operate in Minnesota. Because it seems like they're pretty active in California because they have the support of it. They're pretty active out in the East Coast because they have the support of it.
To your point, we have Antifa in Portland, and they're still throwing fireworks and flashbangs at federal courthouses, and nothing's happening. So, I mean, there's not like an overwhelming ICE presence there. So, to your point, what's Antifa going to do when there's no ICE party to
right.
Wrap in the punch bowl?
Now with it's not even the weekly cycle of news, the hourly or minutely cycle of news, the left, not so much the right, because the right is more stalwart in what they think and what they believe. But the left is always grasping at something, and it's always, like 6 months ago, from the river to the sea. Well, now who's chanting that now? Are there any protests? Are they still upset about that? Like, no, because whoever's directing them is just like, no, let's go towards ICE now. And so then they push all the money towards ICE and they do all the protesting over there. And then now that's going to die down and they have to figure out something else to protest, because burning down the West Coast and the East Coast is getting boring and it's not really affecting much.
Right. Not much is changing on the ground in reality. So yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I don't know what they're going to do with themselves if they can't protest. That's like their reason for being. That's their entire purpose of existing is to protest. I mean, if the French resistance had this bad of ADHD, I think we would still be under a Vichy French, global hegemon,
When it gets dangerous is when they don't have things to protest about and then they begin to manufacture them. And that's when there are certain things that, that is wrong and you should protest that. But I don't believe you. I don't know. Everything's being manipulated. When I always bring this up, but during the George Floyd riots, I had family in East Kansas, in a small college town in East Kansas, and they were all, they felt their social duty, and they were all marching for George Floyd or whatever. And then suddenly, on the end of the block, there was this big stack of bricks. Well, everybody there knows everyone, and no one knows where that stack of bricks came. But it was being supported by something. This is all being supported by something. The money's being pushed somewhere. The attention is being pushed somewhere. All these people are coming in from out of town to Minnesota. Where are all these people from out of town going to go to next? You know what I mean? They have to find something.
And then we have these interviews with, various right-leaning commentators of these protesters, and a lot of them say, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here, or, this is my job.
Shame!
Oh, bro, it's so boring.
Shame! Shame!
Do you have a job? Do you have a job?
Shame! Shame! I'm getting paid right now!
Your job is to protest, like professional protesters, as we said last episode. These professional protesters are getting out of hand a little bit, in our humble opinion.
What crimes have they committed?
Trump?
Yeah, the ones in the Oval Office. What crimes have those people committed?
You want to look it up on Wikipedia? There's like a list.
Well, you made the sign, so I'm asking you.
It's true. I'm at a protest, though.
Yeah.
I don't need to know anything. I'm here for my community.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Minnesota now cooperating. I think everyone there is probably just like, stop it. We can't. I mean, between George Floyd, like, what's in Minnesota's water? What's going on up there? This is just like the social unrest. And I think it's because they have the openness. They're bringing everybody in. That's because they're electing all the weird people. They're doing all the weird things. So they're reaping all the benefits of it, And they don't have the liberty of like an Oregon where they have a liberal kind of California and Washington neighborhood. Like Minnesota, that's the Midwest. You're going, there's a counterculture there that there is, when people say a silent majority. I guarantee you there is a silent majority right now in Minnesota that, outside all this foolishness, does not agree with any of this.
For the longest time, Minnesota was a red state as we conceptualize it today. And 2006 or so, like almost 2 decades ago, I think it was when Tim Pawlenty was still the governor, it saw a seismic shift to the left, at least in its politics, in its elected office. It almost reminds me of kind of like Colorado, where it's a mostly red state for a majority of its history. It has a little bit of purple in it, a little bit of a libertarian streak. And then all of a sudden, it seems like overnight, 2010 with the blueprint, there was the total decimation of the Republican Party there. And a lot of it is self-inflicted. But then a total electoral domination from the Democrat Party that imports its voters. It chooses its voters. And you can't really compete with that when your political philosophy is clean voter rolls, voter ID, prove your citizenship before you can vote. Like, you can't win elections when the other side is just literally importing its voter base.
But that's not what they were doing.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not.
No,
Perish the thought.
They're giving opportunity to people.
Yeah, enriching their neighborhoods, that's all.
Enriching the nail, that's all they're doing.
Find the show on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Rumble. Follow the show on X at Notionally ACC.
Speaking of enriching,
yeah, go ahead.
The Minnesota fraud scandal.
Yes,
that was we kind of touched on that, and again, the whole Metro surge thing has kind of overtaken that. But the most important thing to consider, to remember, keep in the back of your head, is the Democrat administration in Minnesota invited and then allowed, and there's no other way to put it, this fraud to take place purely based on a desire, stated desire. What's stated is not always what's their motivation. Anti-racism. We want to be anti-racist. We want to provide opportunity for people to pull up from their own bootstraps. Of course, they're using the rugged individualism thing, which they don't even believe in. They're using the bootstrap analogy. They don't believe in that. So it's perfidy on top of pernicious uncaring, and that blew up in their face. And again, it cost Walz a opportunity to be another historic individual, not just somebody that is friends with school shooters, but also one that has allowed tremendous fraud to take place under his watch.
Yeah,
we love you, Tim.
He's just such an idiot.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. Like when you look at it, he's just such an idiot.
Excuse me, sir. I think you know he can be a knucklehead at times, okay?
I don't know how anybody bought it, but whatever.
It was so obvious.
I know,
Everyone on the
whatever.
plane saw through it.
Whatever. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
Speaking of losers,
Yes.
congratulations on your successful prediction. The Seahawks are Super Bowl 60 champions.
Yes. Well, and it wasn't that hard of a prediction. What was interesting about this year's Super Bowl, so obviously I like football. I like watching football. It's kind of like my thing, right? I'd watch football in the middle of November. I'd watch, like October. I'd watch football. So the game in and of itself, I could see if you don't like football, kind of boring because it was a defensive struggle. Rookie quarterback from the Patriots, obviously way in over his head, and you could see it almost immediately. But, whatever. It's to like the average person watching. It's not that entertaining. Well, another thing about the Super Bowl, the commercials weren't that entertaining. They weren't really that funny. There were a couple like throwback commercials that had Gen X, kind of vibes to it. They wanted to get our money. There were some creepy AI commercials that we can go over, but there weren't any real funny, oh my God, dude, that commercial, that was so funny. There wasn't anything like that. The halftime show, it's Bad Bunny thing. I don't speak Spanish. I don't like mumble rap. I don't like Spanish mumble rap. I don't know. Call me crazy, whatever. He's walking around in a suit that's a jersey that has a number on it. It's cream. He's wearing gloves, and I didn't understand. I looked at my daughter, and I was like, what's he doing with his hands? She's like, oh, he's a receiver. I'm like, what? He looked like Mickey Mouse. The whole thing was just, and then he's walking with his football, and he's walking through, I don't know, whatever. And, I heard some things from the right about how they were offended because I guess the only white women there were drunk. I didn't pick it up, whatever. It was boring. It was just whatever. He was walking in a cane field. It was just boring. The whole thing was boring. I don't want to sound I don't appreciate other ethnicities, but I didn't understand what was going on. And I don't think that halftime show was meant for us. But
well, they said as much.
Yeah. It's a global game now. Goodell wants to make it a global game. What I took away from the Super Bowl was because you can always tell the barometer of where the United States is at that year by the advertising, by the talk around games, by whatever stupid controversies going on that year. What was it, 2 years ago? It was a big deal because Snoop Dogg couldn't wear a blue rag up on the stage. So he then told them to make his whole outfit the blue rag so that he could be a Crip. That was the big conspiracy, you know what I mean? Right. There's always something happening. I know where I was when I saw Janet Jackson's nipple. I know where I was. But
right.
So with this one, because a year ago, it was all about identity and this is who I am and I have to be heard and we're all recognized in colors and rainbows and pink and whatever.
Born this way.
Yeah, not born this way. I don't decide to be this way or whatever. Well, the money didn't go that way. And you can tell Americans vote with their money. They'll say whatever, they'll do whatever, but they vote with their money. And so economically speaking, everyone was real shy this year. Let's do commercials about families. Look over at my mother-in-law, started tearing up a couple times. That was this year's Super Bowl, was let's get the family money. Let's not be offensive. Let's not be challenging at all. The halftime show wasn't challenging at all. You could be offended because they spoke Spanish. Okay, we live in a big world. Get over it. Who cares? Whatever. But it wasn't that challenging. It wasn't that crazy. Nothing was crazy about this Super Bowl, which I thought was a little crazy. I guess in summation.
This is called foreshadowing. Maybe because of the results of this study we're going to be talking about in a couple segments here, maybe they didn't want to be too intellectually rigorous in their presentation. So they wanted to keep it, in idle and, not rock the boat too much, because they didn't want to offend this particular demographic group who may not be as smart as prior generations.
Huh. Well, possibly.
I didn't watch the halftime show. Yes, I'm white. No, I don't speak Spanish. I don't care for rap. It didn't offend me. I just didn't care. Whatever. So I instead watched the Turning Point USA halftime show.
Yeah.
I watched it. I didn't have any outside opinions coming at me through like social media or anything. So I had a clear mindset to view it as it was. I liked it. Was it like the greatest thing in the history of the world ever? No, but I knew all the artists. I knew every song. I thought Kid Rock doing rendition of "Till You Can't" was heartfelt. He added another verse for Charlie Kirk, which I thought was good. And then afterward, I saw, it wasn't a great presentation. There were sound issues and production issues and such. Honestly, as somebody that was watching from the main TPUSA YouTube channel, I had no problem. And then for 4 seconds, I turned it back to the game halftime show. And I saw this dude in like shoulder pads and a suit or something, like shaking his shoulders or something and doing his mumble rap stuff. And I was like, nope, no, thank you.
So yeah, interesting. Do you think it was necessary then to do an alternative halftime show?
So right up until Kid Rock actually showed up on the stage, there were about 5 million concurrent viewers on the live stream. And then once Kid Rock came on, it dropped down to 4.2 million. So I don't know, 800,000 people weren't big fans. I don't know.
That's hilarious. We'll do mumble rock or mumble rap over Kid Rock. That's hilarious, dude.
Right. Well, that doesn't mean that those people were actually watching the halftime show. They could have just dropped out entirely.
Sure. No, yeah. No, and it's they said in New York City that it was a record low amount of water usage during the halftime because everyone watched Bad Bunny.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Just saying. With the commercials, couple I don't know. I found them kind of disturbing. The first one is the Ring commercial. You watched it before the show. It spooked me out. Now you read about the controversy, but you never saw the commercial, right? Correct.
Yeah. I haven't watched any of the commercials, save for a few that I watched prior to recording.
Right. I guess what spooks me is the Ring commercial I'm referring to also, just so you guys know, is it's supposed to help find lost dogs. That's the big pitch, like right out of the gate of the commercial is, hey, there's X amount of lost dogs in this world. Let's not lose any more dogs. So with this Ring camera thing, we can find a dog with our Ring cameras, right?
But every year, 10 million go missing. And the way we look for them hasn't changed in years. Until now. One post of a dog's photo in the Ring app starts outdoor cameras looking for a match. Search Party from Ring uses AI to help families find lost dogs. Since launch, more than a dog a day has been reunited with their family. Be a hero in your neighborhood with Search Party.
Is a very noble, thoughtful thing to do. Obviously, one then can think, yeah, but then what makes you not being able to track all of us all the time? And I guess for me, if they're advertising it, they're already doing it. You know what I mean? Like, if it's now available for purchase, it's like the internet. They had the internet way before they let us have the internet. You know, like they have ways to do this now. It was just creepy how, I don't know, just every once in a while, and I don't know if my parents went through this or if my grandparents went through this. I just have these Orwellian like moments where I'm just like, oh my God, they're watching us. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing I can do. What am I going to do? Not have a cell phone? Go stand on the corner and yell at people? I mean, come on, what am I going to do?
Big Brother is watching, baby.
Well, but there's no avoiding it.
Of course not. You think Big Brother is going to be like, oh, hey, you don't want to be watched? Go ahead and opt out. Like, fuck that. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Which it brings me to the next commercial that really creeped me out. And it was a guy sitting there, and he's obviously in mental distress, and he's like talking to this woman, and you get a little uncanny valley with it, but she's like, hey, he's like, I can't talk to my mom. I don't know what to say. And she's like, well, Tom, the best way for you to do this are the following steps. But before you do that, you should try this cereal. And the commercial says, advertising is coming to AI, but not our AI. Our AI is going to be advertising free, right? And that was the commercial, pretty much. Why is this guy going to AI for his therapy? That's crazy. Like, there were so many commercials that they regularized, just like, I don't know, talking to AI like that. But on the flip side, I'm writing something, right? I've written quite a bit of something, and I get my buddy he's building his own little AI. And so I gave it some of what I've written. And dude, when it came back with me, first of all, it was too positive because there's no way that I'm that good of a writer. But second of all, it was helpful.
Oh, good.
And then I thought, okay, well, this is like C-3PO, right? Is there something morally wrong with C-3PO?
No, but I do think there's something up with R2-D2. I've always been suspicious of that little bastard. With his beeping and booping. But I don't know. I on one hand, I can see a guy going to therapy for his mom to AI. AI is just going to be so integrated into our lives. If AI is treated merely as a tool, I don't think there's a problem with it. But it's when we get this, I don't know if the term is parasocial, but we get this attachment to it and it becomes a real person to us. Like, that's where it gets a little suspicious, as the kids say these days. And which company was advertising their AI? Was it Perplexity or Gemini? Or
it was like a Theron. It was one I haven't heard of before. Theron or it was something.
So this AI is specifically for therapeutic consultations. Yeah. Okay, yes, yeah. That kind of changes the game a little bit. Okay.
It was yeah. They did it a couple times where he did it in two different ways, and one guy was talking about something else, and he was trying to help him, and then he went into advertisement again too. And I was just, I don't know. And
I can see why that's a little jarring.
Yeah, but I don't think the average human cares. You know, I told my wife about the AI thing, and she's like, "Oh, don't have it read your stuff." And to me, there's a part of me though, like as a tool, like you're saying, if I use this correctly, it actually might be very helpful to me.
Yeah, in all honesty, I utilize AI. I play games with it. I have it construct text-based like RPGs and such. It's depending on the platform, Gemini, Grok, Perplexity. They're really fun. Like I like Gemini a lot. I've been using Gemini more often, and I would run my metadata for a podcast through Gemini, and it will come up with suggestions and helpful tips to make it pop a little bit more. You know, obviously, since I'm using it, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But when you take it too far, which it will happen. I mean, it's not going to not happen. It's going to happen. When it gets taken too far, that's when boundaries are crossed and such. But I think the AI integration is just going to be like us having a cell phone or using television or the radio or cars. Like, it's not going to dominate us and dictate to us, because it's not even close to the self-aware Skynet level of intelligence yet. It's a glorified large language model. So you feed material into the AI, and then it feeds it back to you. That's why it was so positive to you when you ran your written work through it, because that's what it thinks you want. Now, you can tinker with the prompts, and I'm not sure what everything you had entered into the prompts. So it depends on the wording and everything, but you can make it where it's more neutral in its tone, more praiseworthy, far more critical. So, I don't want to give AI a pass. I'm not saying that we should be ruled by AI, but if it's a tool, what's the problem?
Well, see, this kind of brings us into what we were going to talk about with the study from LME Global and the Dr. Jared Horvath, the director of LME. They came out with a study that is showing that for the first generation, Gen Z will be the first generation to be less intelligent than their parents. Tech is hurting humans in their learning process. It's affecting them. So how they test them is they test them on their talking, on their deciding, their memory, their reading, their attention, math skills, problem solving, and overall IQ. And they, I guess, have been doing this study since the late 1800s. And this is the first generation where they are less intelligent than the generation before. And this is important because with the AI, is this because of, this doctor is saying it is because of technology, right? So is AI then, are we just we're just going to become butter people, right? Just people that AI can do whatever they want to with us.
The spacefaring humans on Wall-E?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
right? That's what it will be. Is AI to blame for that? I don't think so. It's us. If anything, it'll be us.
It's us. Yeah. Well, no, we're the one that did all of this. We're the one that made AI.
Right. So I think this gets into the thing that I've been knocking around in my noggin for quite some time is generational blame for things. The what we call the greatest generation. They raised the boomers. The boomers raised the Gen Xers. Gen Xers raised the millennials. Blah blah blah. And each generation thinks the succeeding generation are pampered, whiny brats, and each succeeding generation thinks the preceding generation are a bunch of stuck-up, angry, cantankerous, get off my lawn, Gran Torino types. But who's really to blame is the generations that raised the prior generation. So, a lot of credit is given, not unduly, to the greatest generation. But they raised the boomers. They gave the boomers the idea that, oh yes, you can do anything, you can be anything, and the not Star Trek, but the Dr. Spock who created the child rearing regimen that we've been following for the past 60 years or so. Is that Gen Z's fault that that's the case? No, it's like what Billy Joel said. We didn't start the fire, okay? The world's been burning since we've been turning, So I tend to try and give a little bit more benefit of the doubt. If we had cell phones in the 1880s, do you know how dumb the succeeding generations would have been? It's not Gen Z's fault. It's not like they want to be dumb. It's anybody who's using this to dunk on Gen Z and say, see, I knew it. They're dumb and they watch too much TikTok, brain rot. Well, did they create TikTok? Did they come up with AI? No, they are essentially victims of the times. So if anyone's going to use this to dunk on Gen Z, look in the mirror, people. Okay, we blame boomers for you guys are selfish and you guys ruined it for the rest of us. Yeah, but what circumstances were they growing up in? The midst of the Cold War. They had nukes pointed at them for the better part of 30 years or so. They were growing up in the aftermath of not one world war, but two. I can kind of understand why there might be a little bit of generational wire crossing where, yeah, things aren't perfect. And as much as we can criticize the boomers, who raised them, the greatest generation, who raised them, the lost generation, continuous generational angst amongst ourselves. We need to give ourselves a little bit of a breather and, lay down our arms in that regard, where we're not just, oh, the damn boomers, if only we got rid of the Gen Xers. Like, no one ever says that because Gen X is actually a really cool generation, but we have this back and forth that I don't think is really helpful in trying to streamline how we run society and guide our culture.
I was going to say they're a bunch of little lazy assholes.
And that's the easy answer, isn't it?
But you made it sound a little better. I don't know. You made me rethink my stance.
And that's all I can hope for.
I'm just worried that with all of this evolution towards technology, it's just going to be interesting to see how human beings, because we've already socially adapted. Like, we've already become used to being part of the group. Like, it's now, like, whenever you watch those futuristic societies and everything's humming along so nice and proper, and it's because they've all accepted, they're all part of the hive, and we're now becoming more hive, I don't know, every day. And there's no avoiding it.
I don't know about you, Jason, but I, for one, welcome our new AI overlords.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I guess me too.
Anyway, thanks for listening to episode 27 of Notionally Accurate. Thank you to some guy named Jason for joining me on this one. I'm your host, Captain Kirk. More to come on future episodes. Find this podcast on SoundCloud, Rumble, and YouTube. Follow the podcast on Twitter/X at NotionallyACC. That's at NotionallyACC. Email me at notionallyaccurate@protonmail.com. That's notionallyaccurate@protonmail.com. Take care, and remember, even if you can't be factually correct, you can always be notionally accurate.